Hi, welcome to the Economic Stability, Resiliency, and Recovery Room. Can you hear us okay? Thanks for joining us in this breakout room. We're going to wait for a few minutes for some additional people to be able to join us, and we'll go over some quick reminders for everyone, and then we're happy to start receiving feedback and sharing some information with folks. If you have any questions or need any assistance, please feel free to use the chat function, and we'd be happy to help you as well. So we'll just give it a few more minutes, then we'll go over some quick introductions and get started. Okay, it looks like we've got about 8 people that have joined us thus far, so I want to make sure that we kick this off. One, welcome. We're very excited to have you here in our breakout room. My name is Greg Herman. I'm the Deputy City Manager for the City of San Luis Obispo. I'm joined by Victoria Tonikian from our City Manager's Office and Brigitte Elke, our Finance Director. You should be able to see a slide on your screen. I'd like to go through that information really quickly, and then we'll get into hearing some ideas. As a reminder, this session will be recorded. You'll notice that your video feed is off and you are on mute. In just a moment, we're going to ask people to raise their virtual hand or add in information in the chat. And at that time, we would ask that you unmute yourself. Until that time, it'd be easier in terms of background noise if you're able to keep yourself on mute. There's 2 main ways to provide input. And again, the reason we're here tonight is to listen to you and receive input. You can put those in the chat box in particular. We'll be able to record that information, or please raise your virtual hand. You'll be put in the queue for speaking. And when you get to your front of the queue, then we'll ask you to unmute yourself, and then we'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. As a reminder, we want to try and hear from everyone tonight, so please try and keep your comments and questions brief. Again, if you have any questions, needing logistical information, please feel free to use that chat box, and Victoria will be able to assist you. And just as a reminder, we want to encourage you to visit as many rooms as you can this evening, but please do rejoin the main Zoom session at 8:15. So with that, again, the main point of this evening is to be able to hear from you all. This room is economic recovery, stability, and resiliency. And we'd love to hear what your thoughts and ideas are for that priority for the city for the upcoming 2-year budget. If you have thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share, please feel free to raise your virtual hand or put a question into the chat box. Do we have any questions in the chat thus far? I'm not seeing any. And I'm not seeing any hands raised either. Again, feel free to type in your idea into the chat box or raise your hand. Or if you're having any issues raising your hand, please feel free to use that chat box functionality, and we'd be happy. Oh, I think we have our first question.
Yes, Leslie Halls, if you want to unmute yourself and please ask your question or provide your input.
All right, can you hear me? I unmuted myself. Hopefully this is working.
We can hear you, yes.
We can hear you perfectly.
I have been following the city's finances fairly closely since I think about 2006 when Measure Y first went into effect. It is no secret that the city is not bankrupt, but it is fiscally unsustainable, and it is technically insolvent. The newspaper article a few months ago got it wrong. I was on the Dave Congleton show to talk about this. The city owes over $170 million to CalPERS. We have all sorts of bonded indebtedness. And yet, most people don't understand that without the money, we cannot run a city. We can't do all the great things we want to do, much less the basic services. And I think everything else should take a back seat to trying to get the city back on its feet financially. Here are a few ideas I have for this. Number one, I think we should start looking at getting younger workers in the higher sections of city government. I think most of the city bureaucrats are well overpaid. If you can't live on $12,000 a month in the city of San Luis Obispo, you probably shouldn't be dealing with the city's finances. I think it would be worthwhile to give golden handshakes to a lot of these people and hire younger people at far lower salaries and benefits. And we know that this is possible. Secondly, I think that we should really consider making more payments toward the CalPERS thing. It's not anything fun or sexy, but it's eating up all the money that would go to anything else. And I wish that somebody could explain to the general public, while we'd love to do all these wonderful things, the money just isn't there. And I really feel like this is the most important committee out of all of these, or the most important, breakout session or whatever, because without the money coming in and being spent wisely, nothing else is going to happen. And I really feel like we need to cut some of these city workers. We need to cut a lot of city programs. No one's been laid off. And I just think the city needs to lead by example. And I really hope that you will take my comments seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. And most importantly, thank you for going first. We really appreciate it. Just so you know, this entire session is being recorded. We're going to be transcribing the information that's shared by everyone, and that'll be available again on Open City Hall tomorrow. Thank you for your comments. Just a couple quick pieces from the city perspective. One, that notion of fiscal responsibility and sustainability was one of those priorities that you saw reflected when we did our initial community survey. Secondarily, the city has taken significant action when we received notice that our rates would increase significantly with PERS. That was through our fiscal health response plan. That was going to allow us to do some of those prepayments and actually pay off our unfunded liability in 20 years as opposed to 30. Those efforts have certainly been impacted by COVID-19, and we're actually going to be sharing a bit more about that at the February 2nd City Council meeting when we do our mid-year budget check-in. I might invite Brigitte if there's any additional information that you would like to add.
I'm happy to, but I think you summed it up fairly well. The Fiscal Health Response Plan came into action. It was a 3-year plan, is still in action today through this fiscal year for exactly that purpose, to tackle very aggressively the unfunded liability that the city carries towards its pension obligations. And it most certainly has helped during this current fiscal situation brought on by the pandemic as well.
Again, thank you, and we appreciate the feedback and idea, and it will be recorded. I think we have another question.
We do indeed, and Donna Hare and Barry Price, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, my name is Donna Hare Price. I have a comment rather than a question, if that's okay if I proceed.
Please, yes.
I think that actually, I know that one of the best ways to address economic recovery and stabilization of our local economy is through protecting and keeping people housed, especially in a global pandemic. We know that evictions are not only costly to people who are being evicted, both financially, emotionally, educationally for children, but that it is a huge drain on the system and social services. We know that here in California, due to COVID, this is not related to homelessness or chronic evictions. This is situational evictions related to inability to pay because of a global pandemic, that 4 to 5 million people in California will face COVID evictions. And one thing that can be done to address economic stability is, number one, a local eviction moratorium that is a preemptive eviction moratorium that will supersede, obviously, the state eviction moratorium, which expires January 31st, 2020. And the next thing, 2021, excuse me, I'm still back in 2020, it's hard to recover. And the next thing is rent relief, rent and mortgage relief for small landlords, those mom and pop landlords who have difficulty paying their mortgage. Again, if we don't keep people housed, it's very difficult for them to pump money into the economy. And the other issues that we really need to consider moving forward in the fall, when Hopefully, we are able to move more freely due to vaccinations, is looking at rent control. Again, if there is, we turn the economy on, so to speak, and people have not only back rent, but they have to, they have an increase in rent. We're going to again find situational homelessness and evictions, which is a costly drag on our economy. And the next thing is that the right to counsel program that the city of Fresno has enacted, again, not only protects our local citizens, but ensures that they remain housed and have the legal counsel so that they are not facing the economic implications of an eviction and homelessness, which we know is costly. So those are my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We really appreciate you sharing that feedback. And again, sessions being recorded, and we'll be sure to transcribe all of that information. We may have had some new folks join us, so I would just like to remind you, we are here to listen, receive input, hear ideas, and are also happy to answer any questions that you may have pertaining to economic recovery, stability, and resiliency. There's two main ways to do that. If you'd like, you can type your question right in the chat, and we're happy to answer it. Or you can also raise your virtual hand, and we will call on you, and then you'll be able to unmute your microphone, and we would love to hear from you that way as well. If you're having any issues raising that virtual hand, you can also just let us know in the chat box that you'd like to speak, and we'll be happy to hear from you. With that, are there any ideas, any pieces of feedback that folks have? We've got a few participants in the room. Some questions that you might want to think about as we talk about this topic, which is really important to us over the next 2-year period. Obviously, what ideas do you have specific to economic recovery for the city? Also, we'd love to hear, what would you like the city to be thinking about when we're doing economic recovery planning in particular? As a part of the current budget, we adopted a major city goal around this topic, but we will need to continue our focus on economic recovery as we go through the next 2 years. So what are the things that you'd like the city to be thinking about as we make those plans? We'd love to hear any feedback that you may have on what's working with respect to economic recovery in the city, and also what's not working. So those are some questions that you can think about. Again, we are here to receive your feedback and input, and would be happy to do that. I am not seeing any additional hands or items in the chat function, but that's okay. We will be sticking around and are happy to answer any questions or hear any feedback if they occur to you. As a reminder, there's a number of other rooms that you are able to join over the next hour or so. The way that you see what those different rooms are is by clicking on the link that's currently in the chat box. You can go in and out of as many rooms as you'd like. You can also return to rooms, so feel free to come back and visit us if you'd like. We do ask that everyone returns to the main session by 8:15. We've had a couple new people join us. Thank you. Welcome. We're excited to hear your feedback and ideas on economic recovery. There are two main ways to do that, either in the chat box or by raising your virtual hand. It looks like we've got some time. Leslie, if there's additional questions you have that we could answer, it looks like we also have Vanessa in the room with us. Feel free to raise your virtual hand or type anything in the chat. Happy to continue the conversation.
I'm trying to find where I raise my hand again, and I can't seem to find it.
We can hear you okay. Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. Well, I guess what frustrates me, and I've lived in San Luis since 1979. What frustrates me is that we have these forums and they say they're open to everybody's ideas and solutions are wanted and valuable and all this, but I just don't see the city really acting on that. We're so head over heels in debt and we're spending money like it's water. And I just don't see the city leading by example. And when the city says, oh, you know, we're doing so much to cut debts, and why are we spending money on things that are just ridiculous? $356,000 for a climate action study for the climate of the city of San Luis Obispo. You can't find somebody at Cal Poly who can do that. Putting in an interchange at California and Taft Street, a roundabout for over $2 million. You know, people want all these other things, and yet I see the city spending money for whatever reason on diversity things and God knows what else that's trendy. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, and I'm so tired of hearing we got it under control. We don't. And at some point in time, there is state legislation now being discussed amongst the California League of Cities to come up with some sort of a plan to limit or top out pensions in a few years, in an effort to do just what I suggested, get some younger people in there that we can pay less. And right now, I think we have a program where they don't get quite as high of a pension, or they have to pay more. And it's going to take an act of the state legislature. And if these cities get together, that's one way to relieve these fiscal problems. Knowing how strong the unions are here, I'm sure the city would not support it. But I just think we need to really look creatively. And it's not the rank and file employees that I'm upset with. I'm upset with city attorneys who make $1,000 a day, city managers, department heads who are well overpaid, especially given when we look at what's happening in San Luis with so many people who are broke or homeless or trying to pay their rent. I don't get it. Again, nobody's been laid off. And we continue to spend money on frivolous things. And I just wish the city would take it more seriously. If they did, I would have a lot more respect for our leadership in there. But I feel like a lot of times I'm talking to a wall, and sooner or later, it's going to have to be dealt with. It's real easy to kick the can down the road, and that's what's been happening for years now. But it's wrong. And I guess my message to you and anybody else out there would be just, hey, come to grips with it. You got a 5-0 city council, take on those tough questions and start to get the city back in fiscal order, because everything else is going to go by the boards. And, you know, I don't know what else to tell you. I have talked to the woman who is the manager for the CalPERS retirement system for our area in Monterey County. We're at like 65% funded. We should be at least at 80%. The amounts are going up. All that money takes money out of things that we want to do here. So we need to straighten that out. And I just wish we could get this council to see that as a priority, but I don't think they understand it. And I think they get fed a line by staff who just wants to keep their jobs, and then they go along with it and tell people like me, oh, we got it under control. So that's all I have to say. I'm sorry I'm so grumpy, but I just get so frustrated with these things because I just see the quality of life here going down. And it's very frustrating for someone who's lived here over 40 years.
Thank you for your feedback, Leslie. And this is the opportunity for us to be able to hear all the different feedback we have from the community and the council as well. I also want to remind everyone that there is going to be a public comment opportunity that's going to follow the breakout room sessions. That's an opportunity for people to address the council directly if they would like, but we do thank you for the feedback.
Thank you. I'm going to go to another room so somebody else can bore you.
It's okay. Hey, we're happy to be here. No problem. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Leslie, if you need any help with that, just let us know. We're happy to assist. There's that link in the chat. I'm not sure if you've got the chat function open.
I'm trying to. I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no
I'll
problem.
Figure it out. Thanks, dear.
Leslie, you can also go to www.slowcity.org/community forum, and that'll take you directly to the page.
Yep.
All right, maybe I'll just do that. Thank you very much.
Sure
Appreciate
thing.
it.
Yep. Okay, no pressure for Vanessa S., but if you do have an idea that you might want to share or a question that you have us all to yourself, and we'd be happy to chat with you. If you would like to, you're also welcome to leave any feedback in the chat box, and will also be recorded that way. Oh, okay. Vanessa, thank you for your chat. Appreciate it. When you say that you posted your comment, but didn't get posted on the main thread, was it a comment specific to economic recovery, or was it a general comment that you wanted to provide to the city council? And if
Greg,
you'd like, yes.
sorry, Greg, I've got it. So I'm gonna go
Oh, you
ahead
do?
and
Okay,
read
great.
it for
And
Vanessa.
sure. Yeah,
Um,
thanks.
it says Vanessa S says also raising the salary of the city manager during a crisis. That definitely is not sound economic stability. End quote.
Got it. Thank you. So we'll make sure that that comment is included in this session as a part of the feedback that we're receiving from the community on this topic. Oh, perfect. Great. And other comments as well as questions, totally welcome. Also, feel free to unmute your microphone. And I think we might have lost Vanessa. That's okay. Quick check-in with the team. How we doing?
Doing all right. And I saw there's actually a comment that came in from Alejandro, I believe. So we have that, but I cannot see Vanessa's. Oh, no, I can only see the second one.
It came
that she
directly
put
to
in.
me.
Oh,
Got it.
that's
I was
why.
in the process of typing back
Got
to
it.
her to let her know that all the comments would be recorded when she typed again.
Very good. So that it works correctly then. That's good to know.
Yeah, it was a direct message that she sent.
Got it. Thank you.
I think this is working pretty well so far. We've got all. Are you all able to hear any background noise just really quick on my end?
Not at all.
Bedtime
not at all.
in my house, which is not.
Now we are recording.
Hi, welcome to the Economic Recovery, Resiliency, and Stability Breakout Room. Hi, Jan. Thanks for being here. We're excited to have you. You have all three of us at your disposal. So my name is Greg Herman. I'm the Deputy City Manager. I'm joined by Victoria Tonikian from the City Manager's Office and Brigitte Elke, our Finance Director. We are first and foremost here to listen from you, receive comments and feedback. We're also happy to answer questions. You can do that by typing it in the chat box, or since it's just you, you can feel free to unmute your mic, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, let me say I'm not from San Luis Obispo. I live in Cayucos.
That's okay. It's open to community members, which includes everyone.
And and I care about this issue. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I just came from the deputies. All of these different things are linked, of course. It seems like we're giving a lot of money, and this just came out there. We're giving so much money to the police, like building a new police station. I don't think we should, that's where our money should go. We need to be really concentrated because of the COVID time, I think. That didn't come out there, but on rent control and rent relief on people. There's so many people about to get evicted. I don't know, there's some California laws that are expire soon. At the end of this month, I think. So that's where I think the money should be going, is to help people. This is just an unprecedented time, and so many people are finding themselves on the streets and even more. So I'm not sure where all the money goes in San Luis Obispo. I do know the police have the biggest part of the budget, and I don't think they need that much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the feedback. We've got this session recorded, so we're able to actually transpose that and record that as a part of the session. We'd be happy to help kind of answer some of the questions from our perspective as well, if you're interested.
I would love to hear.
Yeah, I might ask Victoria. Yeah, I might ask Victoria while we're doing this. We actually produce a budget in brief, which is a really simple document, which talks about how money is spent in the city of San Luis Obispo. But just really quickly, in terms of the police station, that this is one of the kind of waypoints in our budget process for receiving feedback, and part of what we receive feedback on, not only our services, but also projects. And that would be a part of our capital improvement budget. And so we are receiving feedback on that then informs what we provide to the council in terms of what projects we move forward with, not only for the next 2 years, but we look out several years for projects, and especially large projects like the police station replacement would be one that would be several years in the making. Also, I wanted to let you know that this item in particular is going to come to the City Council as a standalone item on April. Someone might, I don't have the agenda forecast in front of me, but this item is going to be coming to the council. So that'll be an opportunity for us to not only have benefited from the feedback that we've received through the budget process, but also get some direction specific to this item from the City Council. And then we will move forward from that in terms of how it is included in the budget or if it's included in the budget.
You're talking about the police station, not
Yep,
the police budget, whole budget.
Yeah. The police station specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, that item in particular. Victoria, I'm not sure if you can see the chat, but Victoria linked to a document. That's that budget and brief document that I mentioned. And that kind of gives you a very broad overview of not only how the money comes in terms of revenues, but also how we spend the money by department and service area. And you're right, public safety is historically, the largest part of our budget that we have here at the City of San Luis Obispo for a number of different reasons. And so the budget in an ideal world is a reflection of what the values and priorities are for the community. And that is one of the reasons why we have these opportunities to hear from folks. And then what we do is take all that feedback, present it back to the City Council, and then the City Council ultimately adopts a budget and has the ability, obviously, to make changes and modifications through the budget development process. I think your other question was around rent relief and eviction protection. Is that right?
Yeah, I know the cost of housing is pretty high for so many people, and I'm just see people losing jobs, and I'm just really worried about a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, we are still falling under the state's provisions on eviction protection and
That's until the end of January, right?
correct. Yes. Yeah. And we've got a link also, Victoria, I'm sorry, I'm asking you to do a lot here, but we've got a link. We've got a page that we set up specific for COVID-19 response. It's slowcity.org/COVID-19. And we actually just posted information on that page on this topic in particular.
That's
Victoria's
different than the county one. I've been going to the county website.
Yeah, you should totally check ours out too. We do defer a lot to the county in terms of the public, this is a public health emergency. They are the level of local government that public health resides in. And so we defer often to them, but there's a lot of city specific information. So do you have the chat up by chance, or are you able to see?
I'm looking at it, and
Oh,
I
perfect.
actually went to that other link.
Okay.
I'm not able to, usually in Zooms, I'm able to copy across a link and then I go and email all these links to myself, but I couldn't copy.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Right?
if you have any problems, you can also always send us an email at the city, help@slowcity.org. And we'd be happy to.
You all work for the city? Is that not
Yep.
really for the city council, but for the city?
Yep, we're all staff members. Yeah, I work in the city manager's office. I apologize, I don't think we introduced ourselves. I'm the deputy city manager.
You
I did. Okay, cool.
They didn't. But you did.
Yeah, Victoria and Brigitte, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, hi, I'm Victoria. We're also work in the city manager's office. And then Brigitte.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, Ken. My name is Brigitte Elke, and I'm the finance director for the city.
Okay, well, great. It's a beautiful city. It really is.
And Jan, if you go to slowcity.org/COVID-19, there's a wealth of information and resources on there. So if you scroll down, once you're on that page, you'll see a bunch of different tiles. There's about 8 tiles. And from there, you can access vaccine information, community resources. That's where you'll find the eviction information, other information.
Speaking of the vaccine, yeah, we must not have enough supply here in SLO County. We can't go by the state guidelines.
Yep, that's been the information that
I'm 70 and I'm not going to be able to get it yet because of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have enough supply. That's what I figured. They always go to the big cities, and we have probably less cases per capita, so it's probably not as dangerous here. I don't really know for sure.
Yeah, there's a great poor Victoria. There's a great map on the state's website. So the state maintains a website. You can actually click into each county and see what the rate of cases is per capita per 100,000 people. And I think it's a pretty good resource to see where we fall. You know, when you look at some of the Southern California area, we are certainly lower in terms of positivity rate and rates per capita. But when you look at all of California as a whole, San Luis Obispo is certainly not immune from the surge that we're seeing in cases. And so
Why don't they give us enough supplies like they do the other places?
the supplies, you know, and I will say I am not a public health expert, but you know, the supply is given out on a population basis, and so I think that we are receiving the amount of vaccines according to the methodology that the state is using for distribution. So you know, but no county is receiving enough vaccines to be able to vaccinate everyone that's in the different tiers that are available. So, you know, what we've heard most recently, and the most recent press conference was yesterday from Penny Bornstein, is that, you know, what you said is exactly right. And that is that, you know, although the state has said 65 and up should now be vaccinated, the county of San Luis Obispo does not currently have enough vaccines to even vaccinate the 75 and up group.
Wow.
And so I think that's why they're doing the priority. I will say that have you signed up potentially to receive email updates on the vaccine from the county?
I might have. I'm on some email list. So
yeah,
maybe.
we'll drop just one more link in the chat, and that is to.
It's not letting me copy the link, so unfortunately.
Yeah, we might be able
Jen,
to.
If you want, I'll drop my email in the chat. If you want to send me an email, I can email you all of these links.
That would be wonderful. Then you don't have to keep typing these in too.
Yeah, and so we'll send you a link to a news. The county, the best thing to do right now really is to make sure that you sign up for an email subscription from the county, and they're going to be the main source of information with respect to vaccine distribution.
Right.
And so that
I have that, but I'm not sure. But yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Great.
You are Tonia slowcity.org. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, you can go ahead and send me an email, and I'll go ahead and send you all of these links, as well as the one that Greg was just talking about to sign up for vaccine information.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And we've had a couple more folks join us in the room. We're excited to have you. It looks like we have Mayor Harmon, who has joined us, and also Dawn. Hi, Dawn. This is welcome to Economic Recovery. You are joined here. You both know me. I think you likely know Victoria and Brigitte as well. But we've been receiving feedback and answering questions, and we would be happy to answer any questions, and most importantly, hear from folks about ideas that they have with respect to economic recovery over the next 2 years. You can type a question or comment in the chat, or if you want to raise your virtual hand, feel free to do that, and we'll invite you to unmute your microphone. Dawn.
Well, I was just curious because I know there's so many objectives and so many things that people want to accomplish in San Luis Obispo. It's really wonderful. And I'm curious if there's any thought given to how to create what I would call sort of like maybe 3 meta goals, you know, which would be a way of combining the achievement of these objectives into a core program. So for example, I'm thinking, you know, how could the economic recovery efforts be focused and linked in a way that would also reinforce the diversity, equity, and inclusion and the climate action objectives? You know, in other words, some preference, some additional bonus recognition or something, so that, you know, because $3.4 million is a lot of money to be putting out. I know you're including homelessness in that, which is good. But I'm just thinking, with limited money, how could you create sort of goals and ways to pursue goals that would do more than one thing at once, so that you could, you know, have maybe fewer things that you do, but they'd have much bigger impact because they'd be hitting multiple things at the same time. Perhaps you're already doing that. I'm just not aware, and I was curious, what your thoughts were about how you might approach that.
Yep, great. Thank you, Don, for the question and the feedback. We really appreciate it. I think it is something that we absolutely look at. I think in some ways it's as simple as the bang for the buck principle, right? If we can do one thing that accomplishes multiple different priorities, that's certainly something that we look to list first in our work plan and tasks. And I do think that we absolutely take a view. It's been a long time since we've all been in council chamber, but if we were there, there's what I would call like a mega Venn diagram, which actually shows where our previous 5 major city goals, which you can also, hopefully everyone can see the screen. This is one visual that we've used for what our current meta city goal is, and that's what this room's theme is. That's economic stability, recovery, and resiliency. We do absolutely think that they're all interconnected, but there are things that benefit climate action that may benefit also downtown vitality and sustainable transportation. An example of that might be electrifying our bus fleet. And so that is something we've started to do more recently with the major city goal process, is look at how individual work plan tasks can have benefits to other major city goals as well. And those ones are basically prioritized as a part of the work planning effort we do that we ultimately present to the city council. So I wish I had that mega Venn diagram handy, but I do promise it exists, and I'll take a picture and send it to you, Don, when
Okay.
next time
All
in.
right,
But
well, thanks. I'm also thinking it might help in attracting other resources, because sometimes, the state funding or whatever has certain tags or foci to the funding. And if you're hitting those, multiple items, it might get you more support for the core objectives that you're trying to achieve if it's achieving some other objective that they're willing to fund with grants or other things. Or you could become a demonstration project with GoBiz or something to show how these things are coming together. I know they're really trying to do that around the equity, social equity issues with the state funding, and that might help on, the DE&I efforts and so on. I'm just trying to think, how to get more bang for the effort, more support to accomplish these very important things that you're working to do.
Absolutely. And I think the other piece, oh, Victoria has it.
Hey,
Excellent. There we go.
whoa.
Never underestimate Victoria. So there it is. Don, check it out. I think you'll really like it.
Okay.
Nancy, you should totally check it out too. I think you'll like it too. And so that's one way of looking at not only our major city goals, but those items that you see within are actually the individual work plan items that we've got as a part of our work effort towards accomplishing those major city goals. Don, I might see if we've got a hand up from Nancy. Nancy, hi, good to see you. Welcome. We're excited to have you here. Nancy, feel free to unmute your mic. We welcome your feedback. Also happy to answer any questions. How are you doing?
Sure. Hi, fine. I was at jumping in other rooms, so I don't know if this has already been covered or not, but I had 2 suggestions. I live out off of like Broad and Tank Farm Road, so there's a couple empty storefronts in the Vaughn's Marigold Shopping Center, and I don't know if you can maybe approach whoever is the management company for that, and see if maybe you can do some like childcare, study, tutoring, combine it with maybe healthy snacks, and maybe get like the local Digital West or another broadband company that can help do that. So we kind of have like neighborhood after school kind of extra childcare study sessions. And then the second thing, I don't know if it's really for like economic recovery and vitality, but I do know that we are lacking a after hours 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. urgent care that's not the emergency room. So I would also advocate for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have those both noted. And Nancy, just to respond really quick, on your first item, when we were doing our surveys for the community for Measure G20, youth services was one of the items that was listed as a really high priority item for the community. So I think that is certainly appropriate to receive that feedback. And also we know that there's a direct tie certainly to affordable and available and adequate childcare and its role for economic recovery.
Great. Thanks,
Yep,
Greg.
no problem. Great. Well, we're happy to still have you all here in the room, and we're still here too. And so we're happy to continue the conversation, receive additional feedback. Looks
Greg,
like Dawn has, yes.
Don, don't you go first? I was just going to ask, since I was in the homeless one first, and I know we'll get all these notes anyway, but just what's their general takeaway so far from what people have shared in this group?
Sure, great question. There has been a general focus, I would say, on fiscal sustainability. So there's just been some comments and questions related to the unfunded liability and the city's plan to be able to address that. And then I think a lot of questions around just, how money is spent in the city in general. So wanting to understand what that looks like and also what the decisions are around that. We've received some other more specific feedback, and I'll ask my co-presenters if I missed anything. There's been some stuff in the chat around, we've heard something about a wealth tax for rent and mortgage relief. We've heard a couple of comments around eviction protection, rent relief, a chat about divesting from policing. And then I think you were just able to hear the feedback from Nancy as well. And then I think you also heard Dawn's feedback. So.
Yeah, and I think the rent protection that ends at the end of this month has been mentioned a couple times.
Remember the good old days when the unfunded liability was our biggest problem?
I remember hosting a community meeting in Ludwig about that.
And it really felt like it's like the worst thing that could happen.
Little did we know, Madam Mayor.
2020 or 19. I missed you. Thanks for that update, Greg.
Sure thing. Dawn, did you have another question or comment?
Oh, well, I did look at your mega Venn diagram, which is really awesome. I think there are probably only a few cities in the country that would have the sort of like conceptual capacity to put that together. So kudos to you for doing that. I'm thinking that there's also probably like a third dimension, not to complicate this, but which is how much of an impact you can make on any of those things. In other words, how far can you move the dial on any of those items, even if it covers 2 or 3 or more objectives. How much difference can you make?
Sure.
Of course, that's always a challenge to
sized the circles. So you want us to take it 3D, Dawn? Is that what you're saying?
Well, just a sort of, it's a challenge of how do you weigh the value of the impact of different initiatives?
Absolutely. Yep.
When they each have different metrics, So I guess that's ultimately what the council does. The council does that calculus, and that's they're figuring that out. But I was curious if there were any tools or things that you were using to try to do that.
That's a great question. I think there are tools, and we're looking at them more as it relates to capital improvement projects and more in terms of the specific impacts on climate action and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so on those projects, when they come up, those are lenses that we're looking at in terms of what the impact will be in those areas from those projects. And then those are effectively become criteria by which we use to, determine the level of priority for those. So I think we're starting on that road, but there's certainly a lot more that we can do.
I was just wondering if any of the performance management initiatives, through ICMA or others, are offering any tools that you could use.
Yeah, I think so. Brigitte, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that actually just last Tuesday, we presented to the council the policy amendment to what Greg just alluded to start really making sure that the decision making is done through the lens of climate change as well as DE&I. And we definitely, even as we embark on this, 2-year financial plan, you might know, Don, through GFOA, there's much more emphasis now also given to the strategic planning part, and really how we're looking at performance measures and how we're actually making sure that we're coming through in those performance measures. So we'll be looking at that even more so as we go into this financial plan period.
I think you may be on mute, Don. Okay, we got the thumbs up. Okay. I'll take this moment because we have some new visitors to our room. Welcome. We're excited to have you. This is the Economic Recovery Breakout Room. We would be happy to receive your feedback, ideas on how we can focus and prioritize economic recovery efforts going forward over the next 2 years. There's 2 different ways you can do that. You can drop your question, comment, idea directly in the chat. We'll make sure to record that, or we'd love to speak with you directly. And if you'd like to do that, you can raise your virtual hand and we will invite you to unmute your microphone. My name is Greg Herman. I'm the Deputy City Manager for the City of San Luis Obispo. I'm joined by Victoria Tonikian from the City Manager's Office and our Finance Director, Brigitte Elke. And we also currently have Mayor Heidi Harmon also in our room.
I want to talk about things I want to do, but I know that that's not really what's happening here.
That's
I'm
fine.
here to listen.
Okay, sounds great. Us too. Some thoughts and questions to kind of get you thinking. Again, we're really interested in specific ideas around economic recovery and what the city can do. Another way to think about it is that what are the things that you want us to keep in mind, or what are the things that you want us to think about as we embark on economic recovery planning? We've already done that a bit. I've got actually our current major city goal up on the screen, but the economic recovery is going to continue for several more years. What are the things that you would like us to be thinking about as we put together that plan? What's important to you? We'd also love to hear about what's working from your perspective in terms of economic recovery in the city, and also what's not working. Would be great feedback for us as well. It looks like we lost our one new person, so I fear that I may have scared them off. I'll be slightly less excited next time. Hi.
Yeah,
And
it's a bit more difficult to just come up with ways to solve this complex issue.
definitely. We've had some new folks join us, so I just wanted to say welcome to Economic Recovery. My name is Greg Herman. I'm the Deputy City Manager. I'm joined by Victoria Tonikian and our Finance Director, Brigitte Elke. We are here first and foremost to hear from you, listen to your thoughts and ideas around economic recovery and what we should be thinking about over the next 2 years. We're also happy to answer questions. There's 2 ways to do that. You can drop your question or comment in the chat, or if you'd like, we'd be happy to chat with you. You can raise your virtual hand and we'd be happy to have you unmute your mic and hear your feedback. And if you're having any problems unmuting your microphone, again, the chat's available. We're also happy to kind of go over some more detail in terms of what we mean in terms of economic recovery. There are some great ideas shared in the opening session of thoughts people had were really focusing on housing and infrastructure, promotion of local businesses, a lot of discussion about vaccine, shopping, local shopping incentives, business assistance, jobs, the role of tourism. And so those are just some examples of what we've heard this evening on that topic. So again, would be happy to answer questions, hear feedback, ideas, or, and no pressure, Phil, but if you'd like us to kind of talk a little bit more about what we're doing with respect to economic recovery, we can kind of make this a little bit more presentation based as well, if you just would like to learn. And we've had a few new, oh, okay. Phil would like to learn a little bit more about what we're doing with respect to economic recovery. We have had some additional people join us. Welcome, Bettina. Happy to have you here. We've got Phil with us, and Phil would like to learn a little bit more about what we're doing. Phil, I might direct you to this document. Hopefully everyone can see that. We've got this on our website at slowcity.org/COVID-19. We'll drop a link in the chat to that website and also to this document in particular. This is just kind of a survey of what we've done already. These are more of the immediate actions we've taken with respect to economic stability, recovery, and resiliency. We've done a lot of focus on what we called open slow, and that was making sure that we could keep our restaurants open at a time when outdoor dining was allowed. And a lot of restaurants did not have outdoor dining space available. So we were able to actually really quickly get some outdoor parklets up. We experimented with some different types of street closures, really looking to try and give flexibility to our businesses to operate in what was a pretty rapidly changing regulatory environment. We opened up our parks to gyms and wellness businesses to be able to operate outdoors there if they didn't have the capacity to do so at their space. We're also working really hard on retenanting. We recognize that vacancies are an issue and something we need to be focused on. Something we did to help support that is it's called Tip Fast, but really it's just a fast track way for businesses to be able to do their internal improvements in a store that they will do typically before they open. We've got additional cleaning stations in our downtown. We support Downtown Slow, and we have the CEO of Downtown Slow with us, Bettina Swigger, here right now, actually, in their ambassador program. And they've been doing a lot of great work in terms of distributing supplies to businesses so that they were able to open safely. Do a lot of direct communication. That's been really important, especially with how quickly things have been changing. We actually have email addresses for businesses on file via our business license system, and we've been able to communicate directly with those folks. It's about 5,000 businesses each time. We've sent out about 40 different emails. This document is actually slightly out of date. We've now done $750,000 in small business grants. Those are $5,000 grants to local businesses, and we're prioritizing businesses that have been most impacted thus far. We've done various different fee and tax deferrals. And one of the things that we heard when we did outreach to businesses is that they really wanted our support and promotion. And so we've not only done a couple different maps so people can stay aware of what businesses are open and how they can support those businesses during the various stages of shutdown, but we've also done full-on promotion programs. So that's Slow Together, that's Support Slow, and most recently Slow Bright and some of our different activations in the downtown, like the Light Up Downtown program. We do that all in partnership with Downtown Slow, the Hot House, and thank you, Phil. We're happy to give you that link. And the Slow Chamber as well. There's a quick kind of infographic. And then we're also, just to make sure, we have a sense of how this is impacting things. We do take a look at some of our economic trends, and we're in the process of updating this right now. So more information will be available. If you go to that COVID-19 website, you'll be able to always see the most recent version of this document there. I'm not sure if that stimulated any ideas or thoughts. Since we've got Bettina here, I might hand it over to you to provide any additional thoughts or feedback, but we would also love to hear from you too, Bettina.
Well, good evening. Nice to see you all. So the question was, what kinds of resources are we already providing, right?
It was kind of an overview of what we mean when we say economic recovery. So, in a more practical sense, like what are some of the hands-on things that we've actually done to stimulate ideas about what additional things we may be able to do?
Got it. Well, I just came over from the Downtown Vitality breakout room, and I said this to that group over there as well. So Phil, if you were in that room, apologize for the repetition, but I do think that San Luis Obispo is positioned to recover economically more quickly than a lot of other communities around the country and around the state, just because we're not dealing with the total disruption of the corporate office environment. And we don't have, say, a downtown that's full of like towering skyscrapers full of abandoned offices and work from home, never bringing those people into city centers again to engage in commercial activity the way they do during a normal business day. So I think from a downtown perspective, that actually is going to be really helpful for us. And it'll be interesting to see how the economic impact of that playing out in other cities and urban areas where people have perhaps come to not enjoy or can't even imagine going back to long commute times. We might see more businesses opening in San Luis Obispo. Cal Poly alums who always wanted to come back but never thought it was possible to do that might find paths to start businesses here or bring their work from home to San Luis Obispo. So I think we're going to see economic benefit that's going to come from outside the community and also supported locally from within.
Thanks, Bettina. That's great. That's great context. Bettina, I don't know if you have any thoughts or questions that you'd like to share, but we're certainly happy to make sure that we record those as a part of the session as well. And Phil, if that stimulated any questions or ideas on your end, we're also happy to answer those. So feel free, again, you can drop comments, questions, ideas directly in the chat, or feel free to raise the virtual hand and unmute your microphone.
And just before anyone speaks, just a time check. We've got about 5 minutes left until we are asked to move back to the main breakout room.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. Bettina, anything you'd like to make sure ends up on our list for economic recovery?
Well, I'm curious, since I wasn't able to be here for the rest of the conversation, and I'm sure you and I will talk about this later on, but were there any discussions about, I saw universal basic income can't come up as one in the word cloud. Did anything about like direct payments to citizens or any really out there kind of direct support things come up?
Yeah, we had one comment in the chat that I think was closest to that, and it was verbatim what it says is enact a wealth tax to provide full rent, mortgage, and utility relief for all retroactive to April, and allow everyone to weather the crisis. And I think that was probably the closest that we heard to that, but we didn't hear that comment in particular, as I recall. Victoria, Brigitte, did you hear that?
No, I didn't. I think there were a couple comments in regards of rent, and also the worry that the rent protection from the state is essentially going away at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
So these were more concerns that we've heard.
Yeah.
Great. And we've had a few new people join our room. We're happy to have you. This is Economic Recovery. My name is Greg Herman. I'm the Deputy City Manager, joined by Victoria Tonikian from the City Manager's Office and Brigitte Elke, our Finance Director. So we'd love to hear your ideas and comments on economic recovery, what we need to be thinking about over the next 2 years. You can type your comments, ideas in the chat, also questions. We'd be happy to answer those, or you can raise your virtual hand and we'd be happy to chat with you a bit. So feel free to jump in. We've got 4 more minutes, so just a few more minutes left to get in those ideas. Again, all the information we collect, we're going to be putting online and allowing everyone to be able to participate in a dot exercise to prioritize those ideas. That'll be really important for us because we'll look at what's the most important to folks and then make sure that that is reflected in what we present to the City Council. Not seeing any new questions, and we're just down to Bettina. So hi, Bettina. Yep.
Hi, Bettina.
We're still here. How was the downtown session?
It was interesting.
Good. Good.
Lee probably needs a cookie. If I could send him a virtual sweet treat, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Is that the next like gig economy, like virtual sweet treats? That'd be amazing. Like instead of reactions in Zoom, it's like a cookie and then somehow it materializes. Could you imagine?
I would send you one right now.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate that. I'd send you one back too.
Thanks. Thanks. You can have one too, Brigitte and Greg.
All of us.
Thank you. Hey, and who knows? Maybe soon we'll have the have something going around like that.
That's right. Well, there's going to be some new bakeries opening downtown, so that's exciting.
Oh, that's super exciting.
All right. Yep.
Which ones?
There's the macaron place.
Oh yeah.
Next
That's
to,
is that Garden?
No. That one is on.
Broad. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other one where the Fromagerie Sophie used to be, which has fantastic signage. And I keep thinking it's going to open.
That's on Garden Street, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's exciting. I love sweets. And so does Derek, so that's good to know.
It's true.
Okay. Looks like we are winding down. Thanks, Bettina.
You guys.
Bye, Bettina.
Thank you.